Hare Krishna, where are you?
I'm in Giranagi, Hare Krishna. My name is Yasoda Devi.
Well, you're in Gitanagari, so you give my greetings to my very close friend Divyananda.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yes, and we see one called Hare Krishna Africa.
Yes, that might, thank you very much. My name is Salika Das. I'm the host for this Zoom lecture. Salika Das, I'm based in Nigeria, in the northern central part of Nigeria, a state called Plateau State.
Okay. And who's next? Aloka Devi.
Loka on mute. Loka is my wife, she's
okay. You're much better half.
Yes.
That's how Prabhupada worded it. And
Hare Krishna.
yes.
Yeah, my name is Sunita Devidasi.
And where are you?
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay. That's actually a very nice community there. Where are you from originally?
Ghana.
Okay. And who have you left out? Vraja Taruni?
Yeah, Madam Raj, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, my obeisance. Well,
Where are you?
Taruni Jersey. I'm in South America, Uruguay.
Oh my. And are you from Uruguay?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. And obviously you're an English speaker. So that's easy for me.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Who have I left out?
Giridhari Puja Devi.
Yes. Giridhari Puja, where are you now?
Hare Krishna, I'm in Govardhan. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances.
You're at Govardhan?
Yes, I'm at Sachidananda Swami's retreat now.
I was just speaking to Burajan yesterday.
Oh, they just had a very amazing inauguration today.
Yeah, Braja Vihari sent me a video this morning of Sachidananda Swami giving a little tour of the facility.
Yeah, he lost his father last night.
When?
Yesterday night.
Oh, he lost his father. Oh.
Yeah. So today was like birth and death program for him, like a happy moment and a sad moment also. But it was a nice inauguration. So many senior devotees and sannyasis were here.
Oh, I'll send him a note then. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting me know. His father has a very unusual history.
Yeah, he told us about it.
Very unusual. And his father was very, very favorable to his son. Okay, this is a bittersweet time. His father must have been, because he was a soldier in the German army in World War II. And so he must have been well in his 90s.
Yeah, he was 96. And
Okay.
he was ready to leave. So I think he desired it and Krishna fulfilled his desires.
Yeah, very good. Okay, thanks for letting me know that. I will send a note to Sachidananda Swami. Sachidananda Swami and I are very close, so this I must do something. Okay, so thank you very much. Again, I apologize for being late. I got a little messed up with losing the Zoom link. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that is dear to all of you, something you all know something about. This topic today is something that every one of you experiences every single day. So that's a topic that's important and close to us. And what is that topic? That topic is Kali Yuga. And all one must do is read a newspaper or see the CNN news, and you'll understand that Kali Yuga is becoming very prominent. When I was with Haridayananda Maharaj in the 1980s when he was translating the 12th canto. And the 12th canto also goes into a detailed discussion of what Kali Yuga would look like. And I was running a BBT division that we were printing and producing the books, the typesetting, everything. And when I was reading the manuscripts for the 12th canto, I said, we'll never see the world like this, the corruption, everything. And it turns out that I do see it in my lifetime. That Kali Yuga is everywhere. As we see, countries are fighting over nothing. There's governments are so horribly corrupt. America just had a president who is, what can we say, not a sane person. And then you have in all over the world, those of you in Africa, you know there is one coup after another. And it's just unqualified people trying to take over the government. So as devotees, what do? Well, there is one thing we can do, and we'll get to that. So we'll do a verse today, and we'll talk about this Kali Yuga. This chapter is a punishment and reward of Kali. So we'll begin with a prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyanatyam Gyana Sakala Chakshuru Umilitam Ye Taismai Shri Guruve Namaha. So I welcome you all at the very beginning of Kartik. Now, those who are at Govardhan Hill for Kartik are in the best place in the entire planet. The rest of us, we're not so fortunate, but we can take Satyananda in his daily talk, says that we can take shelter of Govardhan by, at the bare minimum, offering a ghee lamp every day. So the minimum everyone can do is offer a ghee lamp to Krishna as Damodar. That's the minimum we can do. Then if we can chant extra or better, that's good. Everything we do in Kartik, the spiritual benefit is multiplied. Just like in America, we're having tomorrow Amazon Prime Day. So those in America know this. So on Amazon Prime Day, you can buy things, but you get a big discount. So everyone shops because they think shopping will make them happy. So there's a big discount. So similarly, in Kartik, you get a big discount. And everyone likes a discount. So now every one of you and me can take a discount in the month of Kartik, and we can, whatever extra we do devotionally beyond what we normally do, gives us tremendous, tremendous advantages. So each of you think of what you would like to do extra. Some have gone to Govardhan, some may chant, okay, I'm going to chant for myself. I'm chanting a little earlier in the morning and extra. For others, they may say, my vrata for, I know Vaisheshika, his vrata for Kartik is always forget all business and just focus on the books. Others, Satyananda Swami, after the retreat or after the opening, will then take some time off to sit alone and go deep into chanting and contemplating and planning for how to get closer to Krishna. So whatever, it's not that one person has to do this and I have to do the same thing. We can do what's ever good for us, but we should do something because there's a sale on. When there's a sale and you miss a good sale and something you wanted was there, you lament. Oh, it was Amazon Prime. I needed a new vacuum cleaner. I could have bought it for half price and I missed it. I missed the half price sale. Now I have to pay full price. So this is what Kartik is like. We're having the sale began yesterday. And now for 1 month, you get a huge discount. So take this discount. And now we'll discuss this verse. Na Vartita Vayam Tada Dharma Bandhu Dharmena Satyena Cha Vartit Avaye Brahma Varte Yatra Yajnati Yajner Yajneshwaram Yajna Vitana Vigyana. Therefore, O friend of your religion, you do not deserve to remain in a place where experts perform sacrifices according to truth and religious principles for the satisfaction of the personality of Godhead. Now, who is friend of your religion? This is Kali. Kali appeared in the disguise of a king. And we see this a lot. We see people saying they're king, saying they're president, saying they're Shah, saying they're Imam, saying whatever uniform it is. But rarely do we find someone who's concerned about the welfare of the people. Now, recently, Queen Elizabeth passed on. And the nice thing about Queen Elizabeth, her life was dedicated to service. Her only distraction was she liked to ride her horses, but basically her life was dedicated to service. So people really lamented when she died, because in Kali Yuga, no king or queen is ideal, but to some degree she was better because she wasn't corrupt and dedicated her life to service with many sacrifices. So, but generally we find our leaders are much more self-interested. Some leaders get very, very rich. Because I used to live in India and I feel connected to India, I read every week one of the Indian newspapers to see the news. And it's just one corruption scandal after another. India, Pakistan, total corruption scandals, constantly. Now, maybe the prime minister now of India is not corrupt, but everywhere else, so much corruption. And the American government, I never seen such levels of corruption as I do now. I've worked for the government. I've worked in the legislature. I've seen corruption. I've seen naked, raw corruption, but it's worse. And why is it worse? Well, that's discussed, and we'll read some of the purport. Yagneshvara, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a beneficiary of all kinds of sacrificial ceremonies. Such ceremonies are prescribed differently in the scriptures for different ages. In other words, sacrifice means to accept the supremacy of the Lord and thereby perform acts by which the Lord may be satisfied in all respects. The atheists do not believe in the existence of God, and they do not perform any sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord. Any place or country where the supremacy of the Lord is accepted and the sacrifice is performed is called Brahmatirtha. There are different countries in different parts of the world, and each and every country may have different types of sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. But the central point is pleasing him is ascertained in the Bhagavatam. And the central point is truthfulness. The basic principle of religion is truthfulness. And the ultimate goal of all religions to satisfy the Lord. This age of Kali, the greatest common formula of sacrifice is Sankirtan Yajna. That is the opinion of the experts who know how to propagate the process of Yajna. Lord Chaitanya preached this method of Yajna as understood from this verse that the sacrificial method of Sankirtan Yajna may be performed anywhere and everywhere in order to drive away the personality of Godhead and save human society from falling prey to the influence of the age. Now, this is very interesting because earlier in the chapter, Maharaj Parikshit comes across a bull standing on one leg. It's a metaphorical bull. And there are the four legs of religiosity. There is austerity, and that is removed by sinful activities of gambling. There is cleanliness is removed by sinful activities of excess sexual indulgence. And there's austerity, which is removed by gambling. The final leg of the bull is truthfulness. And truthfulness is the last piece of religiosity in Kali Yuga. In other words, when Richard Nixon was president of America, some liked him, some didn't. But then he had to resign as president. Does anybody know why he had to resign as president? He was very successful. He reestablished relations with China. He improved the economy. He was very successful. And he had just won re-election and he had to resign. Does somebody know why? Anybody can raise your hand or speak up. Why did Richard Nixon resign in 1973 as president of the United States? Nobody knows. Okay, well, a lot of you are not in America. You may not know our history. He resigned because he got caught lying. He had broken into the Democratic, he's Republican, the Democratic Party's headquarters. He had people break in, yes, Watergate, that's right. People had broken in to steal information to help his reelection, and they were idiots and they got caught. That would not have cost him the presidency. But then when Nixon was asked about it, he lied, and that cost him his job. When Bill Clinton was president, the Republicans didn't like him, were attacking him. Finally, he had a minor affair with Monica Lewinsky, an intern in the White House. And he lied about it. And that almost cost him his job. He was almost impeached. So there's something about when people lie, we don't like it. Take myself. When I go and if I go and I buy something and the merchant lies to me. Now, the merchant says, from you, I make no profit. Every merchant says that. That lie means nothing to me. But if the merchant says, I'm selling you one product, and then when I go home, it's really something much cheaper, I get very upset. None of us like to be lied to. So first lesson here is that as devotees, the more we can be seen as Brahmins, as honest, telling the truth, the more people will admire us. It's so important that as devotees, we at least be truthful, because truthfulness is so rare in this age. And the last leg of Dharma, the last leg of religiosity is truthfulness. Now, to be truthful is very, very difficult in Kali Yuga. There's a brilliant lecture series, one of the best lecture series I've heard, that I strongly recommend. I'll put the name of it in the chat also. But it's Rabindra Sarup, called Cure of Souls. Has anybody ever listened to that lecture series? You just Google it, it will come right up. Why is this important? Well, Rabindra studied the life of a minister who lived a little over 100 years ago, and he named Boysen. And Boyson was a very pious man. But he was having a nervous breakdown, and he was sent to the mental hospital. And when he was there, he had an epiphany, a realization. He realized that most of the people in the mental hospital were not mentally ill. What he realized is most of the people in the mental hospital were not, some of them were very mentally ill, but many of them, maybe not most, but many were actually going through a metaphysical crisis, an existential crisis, a crisis of identity. And he realized that clergymen were particularly subject to it. Now, why would people in the clergy, people who are ministers or priests or imams or rabbis, why would they suffer more mental illness than others? Can somebody take a guess? You can speak up or type in the chat. Why would somebody do more mental illness than others?
I have an idea about that.
Go for it, Leela.
Well, it could be because do they have the support that they need? And also they're taking on other people's problems, and where's that going? Could that be it?
Yes, it could be. And that's all true what you said. But Boyson went to a deeper reason. He went to a deeper reason. Somebody else want to guess? All of you are in the clergy. I mean, we call men of the cloth, or in the Christian tradition, men and women of the collar. And what is it that the relationship of truthfulness to being a clergy that makes some of us go a little nutty? Maybe all of us. What is it? Can somebody take a guess? There's no wrong answers. There's an answer Boyson gave, and I'll share that. But what Leela said is true. And there are other answers, and I'll get to Boyson, which is a very deep answer. Somebody want to take a guess?
Is it keeping secrets?
Somewhat. That's getting warm. You're getting
Okay, I give up.
close. No, very close. Somebody else want to take a guess? Don't be shy, and don't be embarrassed. Just take a guess. Why would somebody who's a priest or a minister or a rabbi or an imam have it harder than an ordinary member of society? What about it makes it harder? Think of your own life.
I would suggest that it's like you are in the public's eye, and therefore whatever little thing you do is highly projected. And so if even it is a minor error, it becomes magnified. And therefore,
I think you've really hit it well, that you're in the public eye and minor errors become magnified. And there's one more little step. Let's see what Sati says, but you're practically there.
I was saying because they see themselves in the public eye and they're not giving, they have the medicine, but they're not giving it to people. And I was thinking also that because they're more like people who are in spiritual life are really like intensely studying themselves and trying to better themselves. And so that causes them to really be like, intense in themselves.
And this relates.
My husband was saying that because they.
Yeah. I think if we combine what you said, all of you said, it gets there. And the Boyson's main point, which Rabindra brings out, is when you join the clergy, people expect a higher standard of you. And very few of us can always be at the highest standard. I mean, how many of us have sat down, chanted our rounds, and heard every round every day? I mean, it's very difficult and to be at the highest standard. And because we're preachers, we have to represent the highest standard, and we can't always maintain it. And therefore, some people go a little nuts from it. And I've seen it many times in our ISKCON. So the cure of it is found by Rupa Goswami. And Rupa Goswami and Boysen both came up with the same cure. So what's the cure for this problem? And it's related to this verse. So what is the cure? We have an issue, we have a problem, and there is a solution, and Rupa Goswami gives it in the Upadeshamrita. Anybody want to take a guess? No wrong guesses. There might be guesses that are better than others, but no wrong guesses.
I will say constant practice, determination, and association with the right people.
Yes, everything you said is true, and there's one more step to it. And the one more step is when you're associating with the right people, which is key. And Prabhupada personally said that to me. When I asked Prabhupada, what's the most important thing to do for me to make advancement? I was hardly even a bhakta, but I wanted to know. He told me exactly that. He said, good association's most important. So you're right, but there's one more step once I have the good association. You're 95% there. What's the next part? Somebody have an idea? When you have good association, what is it Goswami says in the Upadeshamrita you should do?
You reveal your mind in confidence.
Perfect. So we combine what the two of you said, and that's the answer. When you have to make friends with the devotees, and then when you have a friend, friends don't gossip. I mean, people who gossip about me are not my friends. They're my enemies. I don't want to be with them. So friends do not gossip. And so a friend means someone I can speak in confidence and say, I sat this morning and I chanted and I didn't hear one round. What's wrong with me? That's a friend who you can say that to, who doesn't judge you. None of you, I'm sure, like to be judged. I can't stand it. People judge me. Oh, you're this, you're that. That's not a friend. Sunita, you wanted to add something, Sunita Devi. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Mother Sunita, if you want to say something, unmute.
Yeah, we have to be honest in anything we do. I can say that.
You said that very well. You said that very, very well. We have to be honest in our dealings. And that was another point Boysen had made. To be honest in our dealings means that we reveal our minds truthfully, but in confidence. The person who goes into the temple room and announces at Mangalartik, I want everyone to know I was drunk last night. That is not very useful for anybody. But the person who goes to their close friend, I have an old habit and I have a little trouble getting rid of it. And they reveal their minds in trust and love. That is the secret. So in Kali Yuga, being honest is very difficult. And the only way that we can really, truly be honest is to develop loving friendships among each other. And the real lesson in here is we must all do that. Because Kali Yuga is an onslaught. Now there's a river. When you see a river flowing, it's going in one direction. But if you look carefully, you'll see what's called eddy currents. An eddy current means that there's a little whirlwind and that's going upstream. Maybe the downstream hits a rock or something happens and And you get a little reverse current. So Lord Chaitanya's appearance 500 years ago began a reverse current for Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is still rushing downstream, but there's a little upstream, and that upstream is a Sankirtan Yajna. So by the Sankirtan, by chanting the holy name publicly, privately, at Govardhan Hill, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, wherever, by chanting, it is the one way of keeping that eddy current flowing against the rush of Kali Yuga. And again, I say, if someone doesn't believe it's Kali Yuga, watch CNN for 5 minutes. You'll get it. You see the chaos and craziness, and one leader after another is just grabbing for the leadership. Take America, for example, because I know America. It used to be that when people are running for office, any money donated to the candidate had to be publicly disclosed. And there were limits on how much any one person could give to prevent corruption. And some years ago, the Supreme Court made what President Obama said was their most stupid ruling. I agree with the president. And he basically, the Supreme Court threw out almost all of the campaign donation laws. So now even a little race in my city, somebody would run for mayor, they might spend $10,000. Now they have to spend $70,000. And a lot of the money comes in as dark money. It comes in without knowing where it came from. And it's just all kinds of corruption. I never thought I would see it, and it's so corrupt. And so this, the reverse Kali Yuga, we first must learn to be truthful with ourselves. Admit, this is my strength, this is my weakness, and then be truthful with others. Now, there's a problem I often see in our society that's an odd problem. You wouldn't expect it. We are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we have Krishna, we're international, we have unity and diversity, and we're a society. But I see often the L word. Now, what is the L word that causes so much difficulty for devotees? Can anybody guess what the L word is? Yes, Sati. You're still muted.
I'm saying love.
Say again.
Love.
Love. Well, that's a good word. That is a good word. But I'm thinking.
I'll say low class.
Well, that we have no shortage of. Well, this is good. We're getting some L words out. We need love, and there are a lot of low-class people, but take something among devotees that shouldn't be, because we're a society. There's something that shouldn't be, but so many devotees tell me they are. And what is that? That's a symptom that we are not following Rupa Goswami very well. A symptom. Devotees have this feeling that something isn't right, and it begins with an L. Oh, I'm challenging you. I'm making everyone think I like this.
Left behind.
Yeah. Oh boy, you're getting so close. Very close. Give me another L word. Left behind's 2 words, though. This is 1 word. But you're getting so close. You're almost touching it. You're there. Anybody else think of it? I know Leela knows the word.
Lackadaisical.
Yeah. This is a cause of being this is a symptom. Somebody who has this problem will often be lackadaisical. You're right.
Upanishad. Yeah.
Yes. Help us out, Sri Upanishad. What if I can't remember the word? I'll be so embarrassed. I need your help.
You're saying that we have a lack of this? We don't have it?
No, it's not a lack. It's something that we're feeling. It's a feeling we have that tells us we're not very successful as a society.
I can't think of it. I
Okay.
thought of love. You said it's not love. We don't have
Well,
love.
you're right on love. Love is there. We need more of that. I'll tell you the word: lonely.
Lonely.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're right. If we have, if we are not, if we're not lonely, we won't be lackadaisical. We'll have love, but loneliness is there. And why is it we get waves? That devotees tell me this all over, and I give class that they get waves of loneliness because we're not doing what Rupa Goswami said, spending the time and effort to cultivate friendships so that we can be more honest with each other. And by being more honest, we are preventing the onrush of Kali Yuga, which is basically what Parikshit is saying in this verse. So this verse is telling us if we want to cure our loneliness, we have to have increased honesty. If we want to avoid the rush of Kali Yuga, we have to have increased honesty, which requires we break out of our loneliness. And I'm surprised how devotees tell me they experience loneliness because Prabhupada formed international society to prevent that. And he saw that was a problem. But when we keep all of our inner thoughts inside, it can create waves of loneliness. And then we get lackadaisical, we get left behind, we're lacking love. All the L words you gave fit right into that. So the cure for loneliness is to cultivate relationships. Cultivating relationships takes time. It takes effort. I'll give you an example. Let's say I want to grow Tulsi. They're very auspicious. And if we want to grow Tulsi, what do we have to do? We have to cultivate the soil. We have to put the right water. We have to pick out the bugs that might try to eat Tulsi. We have to do so many activities, and then Tulsi blooms and we could feel it. I'll tell you a quick story about me and Tulsi Devi, because I know this is true. I was in Mumbai, 1972. I had already met Prabhupada, and I was on the way home from America. I'd resigned my post as a teacher in India, and I went to Bombay to check out. Now, the way my government arrangement was, once I reach Bombay, I have 3 days to get on a plane and go home. Otherwise, they'll take away my ticket. But I went to the doctor and my liver was swollen. So he says, you have to stay 2 weeks and take this medicine. So Krishna arranged that I live at Juhu for 2 weeks. That was the very beginning. There was no facility. We were living in tents on the roofs of the buildings. Anyone who has read Giriraj Swami's wonderful book, I'll Build You a Temple, knows that story. Very, very, I mean, maximum tapasya. And any of you have seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire? It was a movie about India thing. Anyway, it was out there. This ghetto, that's about somebody from a ghetto who rises up. And it took place, the actual ghetto, it's a true story, is was right near Juhu then. Juhu is a mixture of very opulent and then nearby the ghetto. And we were living like the worst of the ghetto. And so in the morning, we're on the roof of the buildings, because in India, you can't evict tenants. It takes years to get them out, which of course we did. And so one day after Mangal Arati, I'm watching and they're doing Tulsi Puja. And I'm just watching it. I mean, it's quite amazing to watch people dancing around a plant. I mean, that's, as we used to say in those days, that is far out. So they're dancing around the plant and dancing. And I'm watching. I said, what is that? I'm just trying to intellectually analyze it. And Sarabi Swami walks up to me and goes, what are you doing? So I told him, I'm trying to figure out what's going on? This is interesting. I mean, I wasn't opposed to it. I just didn't understand it. And he turns to me and he says, there's a jar of honey and you're licking the jar and not tasting it. So you'll never know what's in there. And he pushed me and made me dance around Tulsi. So as soon as I started dancing around Tulsi, I knew that Tulsi was a person. And all of a sudden I had all these intense realizations, how wonderful it was. So he kind of pushed me into the jar of honey, you might say. So I understood the reality of Tulsi at that point, thanks to the friendship and help of Sarabhi. He was very nice to me. Took the trouble to come up to me, explain what's going on and tell me what to do to fix it. He was a real friend. And so I understood the reality of Tulsi. And I've grown Tulsi and I know how much work it is. And sometimes you work and it doesn't work and Tulsi dies. It's just a horrible feeling. We've all been through this. And the bugs come and this, but if you work hard at it, you get beautiful Tulsi. And then when you make your offering, there's a Tulsi leaf on it. So similarly, that's what friendship's like. You have to work on it. You have to work hard on it. You have to work on developing relations. You have to be there for other people. And when we do that, then the society, an international society, becomes real. The loneliness becomes, it may sometimes come and go, but it's not a problem. And then we can practice what Rabindra teaches us in the Cure of Souls, which is, and the key lesson is, we have to be honest with ourselves, and we can't be honest with ourselves in a vacuum. We need to be honest with ourselves with people that, as Rupa Goswami says to, we can reveal our mind in confidence. So that's some of my thoughts on this verse. I'm going to stop here and ask if there are any questions, comments, or reflections, something that, well, something you learned or something you disagreed with. So anybody like to make any comment? It's such an honor, I must add, for me to be able to give a class to this particular yatra. It's just somehow I feel very, the unity and diversity we have in this particular Sangha is always impressive to me, that we're from all different countries and races and cultures and genders, and this is a true melting pot of ISKCON, and we're just family and can talk to each other as if we're lifelong friends. This is the amazing thing about this particular Sangha. We go from Ghana to Uruguay to Harrisburg, and this is you are all so fortunate to have this incredible Sangha, and I offer all respects to those of you who are organizing this. Thank you very much. It is truly a special Sangha. So tell me any questions, comments, reflections, criticisms, or funny jokes.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, His Grace Brahmatirtha Prabhu. It is actually a privilege and special honor to have your association and have you speak to us from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So dear devotees, at this point, anyone with a question, comment? Of course, Prabhuji was saying chastisement, but no chastisement is allowed.
I don't mind. I'll give you a good joke to set the mood. So there was this man who had a problem. This Catholic man wouldn't go to church on Sunday and drank a lot. And he drives into a parking lot and he realizes there's no spots and he desperately needs a parking spot. He's very late. So he prays to God, God, give me a parking spot and I shall stop drinking and go to church every Sunday. At that moment, a beam of light comes from the sky and lights up a spot, and there's one spot for him. And he's amazed and he turns to God and he says, never mind, I found a spot. So we have to, as devotees, avoid that mentality.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to share that with you.
Hare Krishna. That's that's very beautiful and funny at the same time. He didn't want to give up drinking.
Oh, don't worry. God, never mind. I found the spot. Okay. So are there any questions or comments or anything you'd like to?
Yes, I have one question, Prabhuji,
Yes.
and that is talking about loneliness that lots of devotees feel in devotional service.
Yes.
What I sometimes find is that sometimes some of us behave in such a way that we are not on a certain level of realization, but we act, or we try to act as if we are on that level. And so we know the basic philosophy of our movement is you are not the body. And because we know that you are not a body, oftentimes we do not care about people's bodily needs. And scripturally, it may be right that you are not a body, but the same scriptures also tell us that we need this body to serve Krishna in this world. So what will be your advice or your approach to devotees who feel that we are spiritual, there is no need to care about material things, you don't need to take care of this, you don't need to take care of that, they are all material things. All you need to do is just chant. What will be the best approach to addressing somebody with such mood and attitude?
Well, you've asked an important question. I'll give two answers. One, there was a devotee in the early days of the movement who played a harmonica. Harmonica is like a mouth flute. And in order to play harmonica, usually you have a rack around your neck and you put the harmonica in the rack. And so he got a harmonica rack and he put the Maha Mantra in it. And whenever he was asked to do service, will you clean the temple or sell a magazine or carry the boga in to the kitchen, he'd say, oh, I can't do it. I'm chanting Hare Krishna. I'm too busy. And 2 weeks later, he blooped. So our nature is to be active in Krishna's service. If we were a Haridas Thakur, we could sit and chant 108 rounds a day or whatever he was chanting. We could do it, but we're not like that. Kali Yuga, our minds are too restless. So we need to balance if when you're driving down a road, there might be a ditch on the right side of the road or a ditch on the left side of the road. It doesn't make a difference which ditch. If you go off the road, you end up in a ditch. So go off the road one way, you don't pay enough attention to our own personal spiritual life. Go off the road the other way, we don't pay attention to the service. So Krishna talks in the 6th chapter of the Gita, don't eat too much, don't eat too little. He talks about how to do yoga. So similarly, don't chant too much, don't chant too little. Now, maybe during Kartik, you spend all day chanting, that's fine. But very, very few of us, maybe a few, are Bhajanandas who can do it. And my hat's off to them. But most of us, it's impossible. Now, as far as health goes, Prabhupada said health first. So when devotees were sick, he would take care of them. He gave advice to me. I said, Prabhupada, the devotees are saying anything offered to the Lord is prasadam and I should eat it. But the food is so spicy and my Western body couldn't tolerate it. It was horrible. And for me, I just get sick. And Prabhupada said, the cook should be merciful to you and understand who is eating this food and what their needs are. You have to take care of your health. Because in those days in India, they were using excess chilies, ridiculously so. Now, I'll ask a challenging question to you, unrelated, then I'll get back to it. How do I know 100% that Lord Chaitanya never ate a hot chili? How do I know that? Anybody guess? He never ate one. I say it firmly. Lord Chaitanya never ate a hot chili. How do I know that?
Did you read it from any scripture?
No.
You heard from some advanced devotees?
Well, maybe, but not necessary. I know it without that.
Hare Krishna,
Yes.
wouldn't that increase the mode of passion? Wouldn't that do
Well,
that?
Well, that would be, you're right. It
But
would.
for Lord
but-
Chaitanya, that wouldn't be a problem at all for it.
No, it wouldn't be. And he never ate a hot chili. He never ate one. How do I know? Ooh, this is a difficult question. There's two ways I know. One way is if we look at the recipes of the Jagannath Puri, which go back 1,000 years at least, maybe much more. There's no hot chilies in any of the recipes in Jagannath Puri. They've used the same recipes for a long, long time. No hot chilies. And there are no tomatoes. Now you can guess the answer. What is the answer? No tomatoes and no hot chilies.
During
Okay.
Kartik, we're not supposed to engage in tomatoes, eggplants, things of that nature.
Well, Prabhupada ate tomatoes. Prabhupada cooked, one time he cooked an eggplant in New Taliban, and I got to eat some of it. It was wonderful. Some Ayurvedic say you don't use nightshade for certain health. That's true what you're saying. The answer is there were no chilies in India. They came with the Portuguese conquistadors. And the Spanish. They came from the New World. There were no chilies in India then. That's why there are no chilies in there and no tomatoes in the recipes of Jagannath Puri, because they all came from the Western world.
Yeah.
Oh, Sati's in New Taliban. Yeah, when Prabhupada was there, he cooked in that famous picture, and I got a little taste of it. It was good. So that's how I know that. So Lord Chaitanya, but anyway, this was a digression. I digressed here a little bit to share a little funny story with you. But the we had Chanakya Pandit says not to neglect three things: fire, debt, and what? Health. So when Yamuna was very sick, she was stuck in a closet. She had, I think, maybe malaria, very, very sick. This story's been written up, and she personally told me the story. And Prabhupada didn't see Yamuna, goes, where is she? He says, oh, she's in the ashram. She's not feeling well. Prabhupada personally walked in the ashram, opened the closet where she was lying down, because that's the only quiet place she could have. She had all this fever. And he says, this is not good. We're taking care of you. Took her to a much better room, made sure she had fresh air, a balcony, everything she needed to get healthy. Prabhupada was very concerned that, we stay healthy. And he knew in the early days in India, it was there were no bottled water. To get drinking water was so difficult. I mean, very, very difficult. Nowadays we go there, we don't understand maybe what that austerity was. When I joined the Peace Corps, which is all over the world, the worst assignment was considered India. Even in Africa, it was considered, maybe those assignments are worse living conditions. But that wasn't true. The Peace Corps teachers who went to Africa had much better living conditions than I did in India. It was very, very austere, unless you had a lot of money. So I see a few hands raised.
Yes, Sati, please unmute. Sati Devi. All right, we'll go to Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Please accept my obeisances. So close to Srila Prabhupada.
Aye.
Yeah, I was actually driving when you asked the question about what is in the society, which is not supposed to be there. And at that time, I was thinking of impersonalism. And I think it's closer to the answer you gave as loneliness. So I think that it is the nature of an institution, and especially when it becomes global, that impersonalism exists.
Yes.
Because yes, so that's my point, that it may be very, I mean, even though you're saying it shouldn't be there, but it cannot be avoided because of the nature of the society, which is global. And once it becomes global, it loses the personal touch. So I just want to add that as contribution, that even though we may not want it, but it's unavoidable.
You know, you made a critical point, someone that Prabhupada recognized, that how do we pray to Prabhupada? Nirvishesha Sunyavadi. You defeated it. And there was a comic strip in America when I was young that was very well known, Pogo. And they came up with a saying, and I like the saying so much. It really applies. And the saying is this: we have met the enemy. It is us. And it's so true. The impersonal, as we get bigger, and Prabhupada, therefore, he was very careful not to centralize ISKCON. Each temple had to be financially independent, each unit separate. He, except for the book trust and to some degree the Bhaktivedanta Institute, Prabhupada kept things not global. For that very reason you're pointing out, that he didn't want us to become a bureaucracy of impersonalists. And that tendency is always there. I'll give you an example. Every one of you, because you're all devotees, you shower every day. Now, when you're on an airplane to, let's say I go from America to India, I pray I'm not sitting next to someone who took a shower a week ago. It's horrible. And even when I usually change planes in Europe, the first thing I do when I change planes is I go and I pay $5 and buy a shower and change all my clothes. I just can't stand the thought, because we're naturally going to become very stinky if we don't shower. It's the nature of the body. It's true. And so in a similar way, we're going to become impersonalists because that's the effect of Kali Yuga, if we don't seriously try to be better personalists. So the point you made, Sriman Vrahacharya, is very important, that we must work on that every day on an individual level and on a institutional level. I'm co-director of ISKCON Resolve. We do the conflicts among devotees, and that's all we deal with is impersonalism. People start seeing not their opponent as a person, but as an object. And our goal is to restore personalism. So I get what you're saying. Sati, you have another final comment. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Sati, unmute.
Oh.
Hare Krishna. My friend wanted to ask a question.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
How I can continue, just find the value, the worth that is in me, and put out goodness into the world.
Well, you asked how to put out goodness and find the worth in you. First thing is, the way to put out goodness, the simplest way is be good. In other words, Prabhupada used to say, example is more important than precept. Setting the example is more important than just talking about it. So being good. as far as your self-worth goes, that's ties right in with what I mentioned about loneliness, how the meditation to deal with self-worth is to know that I'm a spark of the divine, and I've been very blessed that through Prabhupada, who's our father or grandfather, I'm connected with Krishna. And the secret of appreciating your own self-worth is cultivate gratefulness, cultivate being grateful. And when you cultivate being grateful, your own self-worth will blossom. And then by being good, you'll radiate goodness to others. And by being always grateful. Whenever I'm with Radha Swami, and Krishna's arranged that I get that opportunity, the one quality that is overwhelming from him, he's always very grateful to everyone. And that gratefulness makes him so attractive. It doesn't make him proud. Oh, I'm the big guru. Once Radha Swami and I went on a 5-hour walk. Sometimes, for whatever reason, he likes to talk to me about things. And we went on a 5-hour walk. And he wanted to he needed to say it to someone who could understand his problem. And he said, every day, now I'm a guru. I used to just be a pujari in New Vrindavan. I was so happy. Life was simple. I'm a guru. I have so many followers. I have this, I have that. And he says, and they offer all this praise to me. And when they offer this praise, so I have to fight it every day, take my bath so it doesn't go to my head. I don't want it to go to my head. So they're saying all these things. And now I'm counteracting it all day so I can be the humble servant. And it so touched me. And he just had to tell someone what he's going through. He knew I'd appreciate it. And it's difficult for him. You know, once you're a big leader, people, you know, praise you up and down all the time. And he knew cultivating humility and gratefulness will really establish his self-worth. So does that answer your question? I could go deeper if you need to. Say again, it broke up a little.
Yeah, that was wonderful. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but yes, that was enlightening.
If you need more, you can always write me and we could talk separately. You've asked a question that is
Thank you.
It's a very deep question, and it's very important, because if we don't, how to be humble and cultivate self-worth at the same time, sometimes they seem mutually exclusive. They're not, but they appear that way. And that's a real challenge to us. And Boyson had the same challenge in Rabindra's Cure of Souls. You might listen to that and get a lot out of it. And if you wanted to speak to me sometime,
Thank you.
I'll try to help.
Thank you. I appreciate it so very much. And maybe I can get through to you via Sati again.
Yeah, I'll put my email in here. Sometimes I can be a week or two behind email. So if I don't respond, just write again. You know, I also run the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and there are, every day is just such a busy day. There's a saying, idle mind is a devil's workshop. So Krishna has arranged that my mind cannot be idle.
What you shared about His Holiness Ratnat Maharaj sharing with you about glorifications he receives from various devotees, that actually reminds me of a page we read from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita just yesterday. Gita Nagri, we read Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita, like every Sunday. on Zoom. And so we read how, and it's so beautiful how Saswarup Maharaj put it all together. And I could never have imagined that as young devotees as you were at the time could have the full knowledge and idea to glorify Srila Prabhupada as much as you did. But Srila Prabhupada was ridden in a chariot with 2 white horses, and these white horses had white crowns with silver boots, and there were devotees finding Srila Prabhupada, 8 on the left, 8 on the right side, finding Srila Prabhupada, and everybody glorifying Srila Prabhupada. But according to the description, Srila Prabhupada was so grave. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't wincing. He wasn't even waving to the crowd. This was Kumbh Mela. And so many huge crowd, so much. But Srila Prabhupada just had his hand in his japa bag chanting. And we were discussing, we were wondering how Srila Prabhupada was not taking any of such adoration personally. And it's difficult, at least to me, how I can disassociate myself from praises I receive from devotees. Now, my question is, how do I try to do that, to disassociate myself from glorification? Because I think Rupa Goswami, either Rupa Goswami or I think Rupa Goswami says one symptom of an advanced devotee is that he is not worried about criticism, and he's not also very much like taken aback when he is receiving glories or maybe chastisements. He's always equipoised. How do we try to live our lives like that?
Well, you know, the key to what you're saying is, that's a question that I comes to my mind too. And I had the same question, and I've pondered it. And the key is we to be honest with ourselves. Well, I'm not so advanced. I do need a little praise. And I do. I mean, I like when somebody says, hey, that was a nice class. One time, one devotee gave me the biggest compliment I've ever heard given after a class. I'll share it with you. I mean, we've all given a lot of classes, but rarely have any of you ever received the same compliment I received. It's the rarest of compliments. I gave a class in a Krishna house, and one fellow had been there for just a couple of months, and he came up to me after class and says, I really liked your class. And so I said to him, what did you like about it? And he said, this is the rare compliment. He said, I didn't fall asleep once. Now that's a rare compliment in a morning class. Anyway, but joking aside, we all, you know, there's a saying that one who praises you is your enemy. And yeah, for very advanced devotees, we think like that. But for ordinary of us who are struggling, we need to appreciate each other. That's the love part. And when someone really does something nice for us, we say to them, oh, thank you very much. Very nice, just gratitude. And we don't, Prabhupada said, we want to follow in the footsteps of advanced devotees. Rupa Nuga is the term, footsteps of Rupa Goswami, but we don't want to be imitators. And we get imitators is pride. Oh, I'm so advanced. I have this, I have that. Oh, that's like in the Gita, the materialist, so much do I have today, so much more will I have tomorrow. So much praise do I have today. So much more will I have tomorrow. Very dangerous. So a little humility. And we don't seek praise, but we get it. And also from our dear close friends, we get some criticism. I have a Swami who's a very close friend of mine. And so because we're so close, he'll say to me, you know, Brahma, you talk too much. It's very helpful, you know, kind of wakes me up. Well, Vaisheshika says, whatever you're going to say, cut 20% of it out and it'll be more effective in communicating. That's science. That's actually scientifically shown. So he says, just cut out whatever you're going to say, cut it by 20%, you'll be more successful. So when people can be honest with us, tell us, hey, this is how you can improve yourself. I share with them, but always in the mood, not of envy, I'm better than you, but in the mood of service. So in that way, we develop deeper and deeper relationships. Well, where all of us are going to struggle with, on one side, we want to be humble. On the other side, we want to be appreciated. That's normal. If we ever read Maslow, fits in with all the human needs that we know of. One time, one devotee went to Prabhupada, said, Prabhupada, I am the most fallen of all your disciples. There is no one more fallen than me. I am the most fallen. And Prabhupada turned to him and said, you're not the most anything. So, yeah, so we have to be careful not to fall into that realm. I am the most humble. I am the most Prabhupada was very, very funny. Most of us didn't pick up on it then because of the age difference and the cultural difference. But now when I look back, I just think Prabhupada was really funny. I mean, we could write a book. The book ought to be written on the humor of Prabhupada because he had such a brilliant humor. He was certainly like that with me. He said things that were so funny. And then because of the awe and the generational differences and all, sometimes it just went over my head how funny he was. Because Prabhupada was jolly. He was happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I've taken up my time slot. I'm really, it's such an honor to be with you all. You are
May I ask you one more question before you leave?
Of course.
Right. So this is a question I had from a previous Bhagavatam class I attended this morning before this very one. And there was one devotee in the audience who asked a question, but in his questioning, he said something which I don't agree with. And what he said was that, because the topic was around pure devotee, becoming a pure devotee. And he said that one can only become pure devotee in ISKCON and nowhere else. And I don't seem to agree to that. And
I don't agree.
If I may put today's verse we discussed on the screen, and I highlighted it here. Srila Prabhupada is saying here in the paper that there are different countries in different parts of the world, and each and every country may have different types of sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. But the central point in pleasing him, Krishna, is ascertained in the Bhagavatam, and it is truthfulness. So my understanding from what Srila Prabhupada is saying here is that there may be different styles and approaches to pleasing Krishna based on different countries and different cultures. But the most important thing is truthfulness. So if some other countries, some other cultures have this basic truthfulness, which is love and service to God, if they do that, and simply because they do not belong to Hare Krishna or do not dress like we do or live like we do, can't they also access Krishna?
Well, I run the Bhaktivedanta Institute, and I was listening to a lecture yesterday by Stephen Myers. Now, Stephen Myers is this Christian intelligent design advocate. He has a PhD from Oxford in the philosophy of science, very, very intelligent, very articulate. But he comes from a Christian background. He's not afraid to say it, but he tries to leave religion out of his discussion. So he was asked, is there life on other planets? And he said, probably. I haven't been there, I don't know. And he says, well, if the way to get saved is through Jesus and there's life on other planets, does that mean Jesus went there? Or if there's not Jesus, they can't be saved? It was actually an interesting question. Now, a more fundamental Christian would say they're going to hell. He's not fundamental. He's basically answered, I don't know. Fair, honest answer. I've been together with priests who are extremely devotional. One priest I know, Father Clooney, is a major scholar at Harvard, even vegetarian, and his whole study is the South Indian Vaishnava tradition. And I was sitting with him and Tamal Krishna Maharaj some years ago, and I just saw two monks talking to each other, basically like godbrothers. They're just like godbrothers. Two monks, and they just sitting, just talking to each other. I saw them both as devotees. So when Prabhupada would meet people of another religion, if they were serious, he would respect them. If they were fools, like he met one cardinal in France, and the cardinal was arguing the animals have no soul. So Prabhupada really hammered the guy. And then a few weeks later, the guy was found dead in the bed of a prostitute. So
that's how he passed away. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Father Danilu, I think was his name.
Yes, that's the name.
Yeah. So something like that. So there are a lot of, so Prabhupada knew when I was with Prabhupada in Denver, Warren Sannyas came to see him, not ISKCON, just some sannyas from India. And he came, older man in saffron. He came alone with his very, very beautiful young blonde secretary. So Prabhupada then gave a lecture about fallen sannyasis. He didn't name him, didn't want to embarrass him directly, but he gave this lecture. And when it was over, the guy touched Prabhupada's feet and left with his blonde secretary. But he knew he was fallen, and Prabhupada, without embarrassing him, and pointed it out. So at the same time, when Prabhupada would receive other religious leaders who was pious, he would be so happy and respect them. So Bhakti True Swami tells his disciples this instruction. He said, Prabhupada, Bhakti True Swami would say, Prabhupada taught me, I love the ISKCON, right or wrong. So Prabhupada expected his disciples, ISKCON has its ups and downs, but we will stay loyal to Prabhupada's institution, no matter what. And so for all of us who have been blessed by the association of Prabhupada's father, grandfather, whatever, it makes no difference. We are so blessed. We should never leave his institution. But we respect people in other institutions. If people in other institutions are going to criticize our institution, then good fences make good neighbors. So if somebody's saying only ISKCON, I don't believe that's true. Yet, for me and most people I know, there's no better safety than ISKCON. I'll give an example. So I've spent a lot of time in India. I lived there before I was a devotee. So I spent a lot of time there. And the only time I really can relax and feel at home is when I'm in an ISKCON compound. I really feel safe and secure, like I'm home. And every other place, I've been to wonderful temples, amazing experiences, but that's my home because it's Prabhupada's home. And I feel it. It's dramatic. It's palpable. It grabs me in every way. So once we're in ISKCON, it's very good. We've been especially blessed. We shouldn't throw away the blessing because we're mad at some god brother or some temple president's an idiot. And we've had many temple presidents who have done idiotic things. I mean, welcome to the real world. And, GBC does something. I mean, I do ISKCON Resolve. We're the portable toilet of ISKCON. I mean, you give me all the garbage and sewage of ISKCON, a lot of it passes through me. I have to see it and I have to deal with it. Yet I don't lose any faith in the institution or in Prabhupada. It's just the human experience, the nature of things. Just like you get a smallpox inoculation or a COVID vaccine or a polio vaccine in the 70s, through maybe not time for the story now, but I had the weirdest temple president I've seen in all my years in ISKCON, and I watched how Prabhupada dealt with it and said, I'm just a new bhakta. Krishna, why do I have to experience this? And then I understood why. Krishna was giving me an inoculation. So no matter what happened in ISKCON later on, I could do like my ISKCON Resolve service and never lose my faith or be disturbed. And I share that with all of you. That's the message from Prabhupada. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Very much, yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. I would not word it the way your class giver worded it. I think he might have meant very well and encouraged people to be loyal to ISKCON. I agree with that, but I would have worded that differently. That's my preference. Okay, it is 1/2 the hour.
Yes.
Again, I am truly, from the core of my heart, grateful to be here. I see the motto on the screen, Hare Krishna, Africa. Motto, bringing devotees together. That is a perfect motto. I like that a lot. And it is on my list of things to do to visit Africa. Bhaktitirtha Swami kept telling me, you got to come, you got to come. We were friends from his brahmachari days and said, you got to come. So one day I have to fill his wish as my mentor and make it to Africa, but we'll see.
Yeah, please let us know when you are ready, and some of us will happily join you.
Yeah. I mean, the culture in Africa is there's so much deep culture and history and I mean, you go to anybody in Africa and you say to them, it's like in India, you say, by the way, what do you think of reincarnation? Everybody knows it's the truth. Yeah. Everybody knows you respect nature. Everybody knows you appreciate the demigods. I mean, everyone knows this. I mean, the person who's cleaning the street knows it.
Yeah.
And so there's something special about that kind of piety and knowledge, and all the colonial influences couldn't take that away.
No.
Well, they tried.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So at this point, we request all the devotees to unmute, and then we chant the loudest Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation for Prabhu's presence here, giving us his love and guidance. Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare.
Hare
Rama Hare Rama. Rama Hare Hare. Panchakapatarvyascha Kripasindhya Patitanam Pavanavyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you.